Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, a crazy homeowner association formed in my neighborhood and they hate the fact that a farmer like me lives there. They constantly call the police on me and then even trespass on my property to kill my farm animals. The HOA president ends up trying to stab me. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. I don't know about everywhere, but I know that I have heard plenty of phrases like the relaxing life of a farmer and a farm is a man's quiet haven. Well, I don't even know if these are things from South Africa or just in my personal experience, but either way, I wanna agree and say that one reason I became a farmer was because I didn't wanna deal with the life of the city. All the buzzing and people fighting and I hate even thinking about it. Sadly, my life as a farmer has had a few hiccups in the past and I want to tell you about the craziest one of all. Part of the problem is that here some farmland is being sold off and communities are popping off instead. It's not that I hate people, it just seems that there's always an issue with them not liking whatever farms are still there, even though we were here first. So this neighborhood had an HOA and the owner for some reason decided to pick a fight with me. I don't know if he thought I would run away scared, but farmers are not an easy group of people to make a run for the hills. He had sent me a few letters saying that I could not have my tractor visible from the street even though it was fully on my property. I ignored it until one day he came to my door and decided to try and give me the same speech as from his letters. I was not having any of it though. Me, my tractor, my property. Get off my land and leave me alone right now. HOA dude, I can call the police on you right now for having the tractor and I'm gonna give you one chance and one chance only to move it right now. Me, don't you try and threaten me. Go ahead and call the cops while they're here, I'm gonna make them force you off my land. He calls the police indeed and starts saying that somebody was breaking HOA rules and when he tried to tell them, I went crazy and he feared I was gonna hurt him. And yeah, I might be blunt, but I was not yelling at the guy, let alone going crazy. He probably just wanted some excuse to make them come right away, because an HOA violation usually would not have the police rushing out. So they came and talked to the guy before turning to me and telling me that he was the head of the HOA and I had to follow the rules. Me? Officer, I bet he did not bother mentioning to you that I was here before the HOA and I never joined it to begin with. And if I'm not part of it, doesn't that mean that I can do anything I want on my own farm as long as it is legal? Officer, yes sir. I was given the impression that you were part of the HOA. I will go and tell the other man that your tractor is fine where it is and not to bother you anymore. I could hear HOA guy complaining that it is not right and my tractor makes the entire neighborhood look crappy and like poor farm people live in it. Still, with the police telling him to, he left my property and I thought he would leave me be. However, it turns out that he's actually a persistent guy and was not gonna just crawl back where he came from. Instead, he did a series of things that are both unpleasant and very upsetting, so I wanna go through it as fast as possible. I have chickens on my farm and one day I came out to find a bunch of them dead, clearly shot by somebody. I knew it was the HOA guy because I had cameras, but I decided to put up an electric fence instead so that if he tried again, he would get the shock of his life. He actually tried and got a small shock before backing off. Then he came back with a torch and before I could do anything, lit one of my crop fields on fire. I was furious at that point and ready to teach him a lesson that he would never forget. I should have called the cops right away, but I was too mad and instead called him up and told him that if he wanted to face me, he could do it like a man. He actually showed up the next day and I did not waste any time laying into him for what he had done. I was holding my shotgun, but it actually was not loaded, I just wanted to show that I meant business. Me? You think it's funny killing my chickens and burning my crops? How would you feel if I killed things and set your lawn on fire? You wouldn't. You're going to pay me for the damages or I swear I'm gonna sue you so hard you will never have a penny to your name. HOA guy? Me? I should be the one suing you and your entire waste dump you call a farm. When I own this land, I'm gonna tear it down to pieces and build some nice family homes. Me? You piece of crap. And I guess I struck a nerve because he pulled out a decent sized knife and held it out towards me like he was gonna stab me. This dude went from annoying to crazy really fast. Luckily, I could tell that his hold on the knife was not that great, so with my shotgun, I knocked it out of his hands. When he lunged to get it back, I used the back of my gun to hit him in the head, knocking him out. I'm not a fan of violence, but I was not risking getting stabbed by this guy. I called the cops right away, and it was actually the same ones from the first visit. I explained what happened and I had the videos of everything from the chickens to the fight that just happened. He was not hit hard and was gaining consciousness, but a little bit loopy. They asked me if I wanted to press charges against him for assault, and I told them yes. I was not letting him get away with anything he did. And yes, of course, I had to go to court and show the videos of him trying to destroy my farm as well as stab me. He was convinced I would be in trouble for having an electric fence, but I wasn't. His only defense was saying that I could not hit him with my gun and that I assaulted him. It counted as self-defense though, and also did not excuse anything he did, so it was not much of a defense. He got sent to jail and was not gonna be getting out for quite a while. The HOA had to elect a new president in his place who personally came to my farm to talk to me. He told me that he was sorry the HOA and me got off on a bad foot, and he promised that I would not be bothered anymore. He was true to his word, and since then the HOA has stayed out of my business and left me alone. I have had some stray people annoy me, but that is just a run of the mill and nothing compared to what that HOA president did to me. And yeah, ripe stars, I gotta say, what I have noticed so far in a lot of these HOA stories is that they don't really like farmers. Especially if the farmers, and what is usually the case, don't want to join the HOA. I guess they are getting so desperate then that they even resort to violence. Absolutely insane. Either way, if you enjoyed the story so far, please don't forget to like the video because that would help me tremendously. The next one is titled The Big Car Revenge. I submerged my car on a flooded road outside my apartment complex a few years back. I did not realize it was flooded, turned into the street doing about 30 to 35 miles per hour, and splish splash, I was taking a bath. The street was constructed in a U-shape with there being a large bowl where the water gathered. Unfortunately, there was only a small storm drain on either side of the road. I documented the scene, took videos of that day and then videos a day or two later when it flooded again. Witnesses at the time told me they had lived in the area for years and it flooded every winter. I then sued the county, provided them with ample evidence, the cost of repairs, the loss of value in the car, loss of wages as my only means of transportation was damaged for a few weeks, as well as the cost of a rental car and the cost of labor. They attempted to say that the streets were designed to withstand a 10-year flood, and as the day in question was heralded as the storm of the century for my region, they said it was an act of God. I quickly countered their claim with video evidence of the street flooding a few days later. I let them know that it was not as substantial as the day I wrecked my car, as the water had been almost covering about 1/3 of the fire hydrant you can see in the video. Children were literally swimming across the street. I won 80-some odd % of my claim. They did not want to go to court over the issue, as they would have to pay more lawyer fees than what they had already paid and could very well likely wind up paying a good portion of the claim anyway. Fast forward a few months and it floods again. I see a guy in a similar situation as mine. He drove into the water and effed his car up. I jot down my phone number and my previous claim number, make him a copy of the form used to file suit against the county, and tell him the situation. I tell him to contact me to be a witness if things got that far. I let him know that I had contacted the transportation department hours ago and they never showed up. They did not detour the road, they did not close it due to flooding, they did not open up the drains. They knew of the issue hours before he wrecked his car. A few months later, wouldn't you know it, the county repaired the road and added proper drainage. And the next one is titled Revenge After the Job is Done. So a few years after I started my business, I was asked to clean up and optimize a number of PCs in multiple locations, as well as set up some forms and templates for a new client who owned a local restaurant. The work or labor, apart from little travel, was performed over the space of a month due to scheduling conflicts and school holidays, but on completing the last of it, the client confirmed verbally that he was happy with all I had done and to go ahead and send an invoice. I duly emailed an invoice for a sum just in excess of £400. I waited for payment, never heard anything, sent reminder emails, called and left messages, but no response. Eventually, a couple of busy months had passed and I met the client by chance in the local supermarket. On asking why he had not paid or been in touch, he said that all the PCs were as bad as they had been before I had started and that he had tried to contact me with no success. As my landline and mobile phone had caller display as well as answering services and there had been no emails, I knew the letter was BS, and as any PC user knows, a system can easily go back to pot if the user bad habits don't change. So I contacted a local debt collector, gave him the details, printouts of my call logs and post-invoicing emails, and he took them to the restaurateur. On his return, his words were, "He is not disputing the invoice, he is saying that the work was not done right, so it's his word against yours." I queried if it was worth taking the guy to small claims, to which the debt collector said, "Even if you could prove that he confirmed he was satisfied with the work, they might insist you get his computer back to their pre-invoice state again. Do you really want to spend more time doing that?" Of course the answer was no, so I stewed it over in my mind and came up with a plan. At this point it was late November, so creating 2 throwaway email accounts in female names, I got in touch with the restaurant to book a large party for Valentine's night the following February. I put it down as my husband's surprise 40th birthday party, confirmed that my husband's sister, and CC'd her in the message with the other throwaway, could not make the journey north but would happily pay the £10 per head deposit as her share towards the night. Of course, as time went on, the ideas grew arms and legs. The numbers attending increased until the owner suggested he would reserve the whole restaurant for the evening and they would happily arrange the seating to suit us. But could I ensure the deposit was sorted ASAP, please? Of course, I confirmed that the sister was a scatterbrain and that I would ensure that check was with him very soon. He emailed the sister using the CC address and she confirmed it had been posted. To keep him on site, I asked for a proposed menu in advance so that I could send it to all the attendees for pre-ordering. Naturally, they were delighted that they would know this, as it makes their life much easier. Consequently, the numbers for all 3 courses were emailed in, with a few fuzzy eater variables thrown in for good measure. Needless to say, by the beginning of February he was getting quite antsy about there being no sign of the deposit, but I reassured him that the sister's check must have been lost in the post, so she would send another one by special delivery if they could ensure someone was there to sign for it. If I knew the owner lived about 25 miles away and the restaurant did not open till 5 PM, so he would have to come in very early and hang around waiting for it. So, a week before D-Day, and he would obviously had enough. He emailed in a spat saying that they had turned away numerous inquiries, had no deposit and could no longer hold back on taking other bookings. This time I did not bother replying, my part was done. My wife at the time and I were booked in at another restaurant close by for our Valentine's meal, after which we took a walk past the restaurateur's business premises to see just 2 cars in their parking lot, one of which was his. I'm not sure how much he must have lost out on that night, but knowing his prices I would bet it was significantly more than the £400 I had invoiced him. Of course, lessons were learned by me too: get written or email confirmation of job satisfaction for one, and not letting new clients go unbilled for too long was another. Naturally, I had no hesitation letting all and sundry know how he had behaved either, so he was blacklisted or forced to pay upfront for any work by IT and other professionals I knew locally. And the next one is titled, "Should Have Treated Me Right." I currently work at a drug/alcohol residential treatment center. I used to do the same thing somewhere else though. The pay sucked and the commute sucked, but my coworkers absolutely rocked. They were worth the crap pay and 50-mile one-way commute. I was always on time, I never complained about anything. I did my job well for the most part, and when I screwed up I would always take responsibility and fix it. Same with my work bestie. However, my boss liked to pick on us. She would come into the nursing station just to yell at us and tell us about how she doesn't trust us, and she loved to remind us about how much she did not really need us. One day after a particularly bad abuse session, I've sent HR an email about her behavior, one of many emails I've sent. And they told me to go F myself. It brought up all those memories of getting bullied in school and no one did anything about it. My depression and anxiety got so bad I came pretty much close to ending myself. But then I stopped and said, F it, I'm a nurse. I can get a better job with better pay and better treatment and a closer commute, so I did. I quit the job and that's all I did. I wrote the most bland 2-week notice I could and I sent it to HR, management and the nursing department. That same day, 2 other people quit. And during those 2 weeks, 3 more people quit. And in the month since, I got my new job and a total of 8 nurses quit. Now, staffing is so bad that my boss had to move into the facility to live there and be on site 24/7, all because she was mean to me and my friend. She has a sick husband at home and she does not even see him anymore. And to make it even better, they had a mass firing at our sister facility, which is much closer to my home. They have far fewer patients. So I joined an agency and get sent there weekly to collect more than $400 a pop for doing next to no work on a 12-hour shift. So now they are paying me to scroll Reddit and wear track pants just because they need a warm body there and they cannot say anything. So that is my petty revenge. Don't F with nurses. The next one is titled, "Am I the a-hole for having my neighbor's car towed?" So I, 20 male, live in a condo lot with a couple of roommates and we all have our assigned parking spaces that we paid for. My space is next to our neighbors who has 2 spots of their own. Now normally I don't have a problem with said neighbors, they are very friendly, very courteous of the other people in the condo lot and just very good neighbors overall. However, recently a car that is not mine started parking in my space, thus causing me to have to park across the street and crossing the street during heavy traffic. After the first day of this happening, I asked around to the other tenants in my lot to try and see whose car it was and no one knew who the car belonged to. Then I asked the neighbors who have spaces next to mine and they said, "Yeah, it's family. You are normally gone all day at college, I'm currently in college, so we didn't think it would be that big of a deal since that space is normally unoccupied during the day." I then asked, "Well, how long is your family going to be staying with you?" I figured if it was only gonna be a couple days or even a week, I could suck it up and just park across the street. They replied, "They will be staying with us for a while. We don't know how long exactly, but at least it will be a couple of weeks if not months." Needless to say, I was not happy. I said, remaining calm and collected, "If I come home tomorrow and their car is parked in my spot that I paid for, then I will have your car towed." They assured me it wouldn't and I left feeling pretty satisfied. The next day, however, I come home and the car is still in my spot. So I park across the street, go to their condo and confront them, asking why their family car is still in my spot. They said, "Oh sorry, we didn't want to park across the street." I said, "Okay," and left fuming. I went inside my condo and called the building manager and asked them to call a tow truck. About half an hour later, the tow truck arrived and towed their car. I moved my car into my spot, the neighbors saw this and asked me why I did that. I said, "Because you had a car in a spot that wasn't yours." They called me an a-hole and want me to pay the fine to get the car back. My roommates on the other hand don't think I'm an a-hole because it is my spot. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for having my neighbor's car towed? And Ripe Stars, I would like to relay this question to you. Do you think that OP is the a-hole for having his neighbors towed from his own paid parking spot? Please let us know what you think in the comments. Either way, a user in the comments said, "Not the a-hole, you told them in advance that if they parked in your space then you would have their car towed, not your fault that they paid no attention to you." Another person said, "Not the a-hole, you paid for the spot. Honestly, it was very nice of you to seemingly let them park in the spot while you were gone and you just asked for it to be moved by a certain time. Tow away, keep towing if it keeps happening. Or rent your spot to them, charge them double payment up front and make some dollars off these neighbors." Another person said, "They calculated the risk of stealing your paid parking lot and somehow decided it will be in their favor and then to fail miserably. Man, do they suck in math. Maybe they should go to college like you. Also, you played nice by giving them a chance and they took it and threw it out like garbage." Again assuming they excelled in math and failed miserably again. Not sure why they are shocked and insist on you paying a fine, which can be avoided by parking legally.